Dr. Anjan Kumar Bhanja, Dr. Subrit Das, Mr. Binoy Acharya, Mr. Anand Adkalgud, Mr. Ronak Shah, and the moderator of the session will be Ms. Sheena Gandhi. And before entering into the panel discussion, I would like to take some time to brief and give an introduction about our panel speakers and moderator. So starting with Mr. Reddy. Dr. Reddy has served in various key positions, contributing significantly to governance and administration. He took charge of crucial responsibilities, including managing the Kerala Water Authority, reviving the dairy sector in Kerala as the Managing Director of the Kerala Milk Marketing Federation, and serving as the Special Secretary of Taxes for the Government of Kerala. Dr. Reddy's contribution extended to the national level in various departments of Government of India. Moving next to Dr. Bhanja. Dr. Bhanja is heading both the School of Local Governance and Center for Panchayati Raj, Decentralized Planning and Social Service Delivery of NIRDPR. He has coordinated more than 150 international and national training programs. He has conducted more than 30 workshops. He is in many national level committees constituted by Ministry of Panchayati Raj, Government of India. Moving next to Mr. Das. Mr. Das focuses on the civic engagement and government portfolio in the Foundation's Office for India, Nepal and Sri Lanka. Prior to joining the Ford Foundation, he was associated with the Center for Budget and Governance Accountability. Subrit has depth experience in civic engagement with physical governance, strengthening equity and inclusion in the physical policy discourse, and deepening physical transparency and accountability in India. Mr. Binoy Acharya is he's not available. So moving next to Mr. Anand. Anand co-founded Socion, a social enterprise with a mission to address societal challenges at scale by partnering with state, multilateral and civil society organizations globally. Additionally, Anand serves as a board member of Catalyst 2030, a global movement of social entrepreneurs. Catalyst 2030 aims to unite social entrepreneurs and organizations working to create positive social change worldwide. Mr. Shah has spent nearly 20 years in the development sector. After 7 years with Seva Mandir, he started Udaipur Urja Initiative, a community-owned company, which he led as chief executive for 4 years. He rejoined Seva Mandir in 2018 as the chief executive, and currently he is the chief executive of Seva Mandir. And the moderator of this session, Ms. Sheena Gandhi, is the co-founder of Sahyog Foundation, a not-for-profit that builds capability and facilitates partnerships and collaborations to amplify impact. It works with people and partners and create platforms to aggregate learning and increase accountability, improving organizational and programmatic effectiveness for scalable and sustainable development. I invite Sheena on podium to start the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me? Yes. I know it's the last session of the day, so I'm going to try and take a leaf from Mr. Anoop's book and try and make this, we don't have to extend it for an hour, but I think it is a very, very pertinent topic. The last two panels have spoken about it, and it's really about understanding how is it that we really achieve those localized SDG goals, and how do we really build that local capability building. So without much further ado, I have a very eminent panel. I would actually like to start by asking each one of you if you can really share from your experiences, and Dr. Reddy and Dr. Bhanja, I would love it if you could go first. What are the areas of capability building across stakeholders that really define localized SDGs and are needed?
Yeah, thank you. Now, when we are thinking of, or when we are discussing of the capability building, basically I refer to the capability building of the PRIs, Panchayat Raj institutions. So they have to be made strengthened. Their institutional capability should be strong enough to plan, to formulate any kind of plan, to implement any kind of plan, and to monitor any kind of plan. Unless until PRIs are institutionally strong, they cannot formulate any quality plan, they cannot monitor any quality plan. For that, we have to go for making the Panchayat Raj institutions institutionally strong enough. And for that, it is not only 3 tiers of Panchayat Raj system, we have to think in terms of the holistic system. Holistic system is the structures which are outside of the 3 tiers also. Take for example, states, they have to constitute finance commissions, there should be election commission, so that suggestions and recommendations will be there to make the panchayats institutionally strong. So that way we have to do, and when we are referring to making panchayats institutionally strong, it means they should know their roles and responsibility, there should be devolution of power, and this devolution of power should be linked with the principle of subsidiarity, and there should be activity mapping. All these things are interrelated, and to make this Panchayat Raj system institutionally strong, states and the ministries, they have to take enough initiative in this regard. Thank you.
Dr. Reddy.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon. I think thin crowd and last session, advantage of last session is there is no next panel sitting on our heads, so we can have liberty. Don't worry, we are not going to prolong that, okay? Yeah, we had been hearing since morning the localization of SDGs and of course the panchayats. And our area is capacity building for that. But before that, I think I would like to endorse fully some of the previous speakers. I think Dr. Thomas Isaac has succinctly put forward. Let us not complicate the things. 577 indicators, and then how to build the capacity of these PRIs and PRI functionaries to understand in their own local parlance, and then come up with achieving these SDGs. Dear friends, we have started with the People's Planning Campaign way back in 1995 in Kerala. And I was fortunate to be part of that movement as a district collector in different districts in Kerala. We have seen how the people's movement, like a second freedom movement sort of thing we have seen in Kerala. Thanks to Government of India, it has realized the importance of decentralized participatory planning, started the People's Planning Campaign. I think for the last 4 or 5 years they had been doing it. May not be in the same full steam, in many ways in a truncated form, because it is top-down, top-driven, rammed from the top. If GPDP is professionally made by the panchayats, that means for which we have to enable the panchayat, we have to strengthen the panchayats to make the GPDP, Gram Panchayat Development Plan, which is participatory in nature and then take the local felt necessities into account, then I think we need not look for further segregating, disaggregating, and then bringing up with so many indicators and so on and so forth. I was looking at all the 17 SDGs, except 2.5 SDGs, I call 2.5. That is SDG 10, 14, and which deals with marine resources, which deals with the global partnership, and another deals with reducing the inequalities. Even some is connected to the panchayat also. Rest of the SDGs are part of the GPDP. We have seen professionally made Gram Panchayat development plans by the forward-looking panchayats had definitely all the elements of these SDGs. So I think of late we have rammed from the above various constraints, various roadblocks for the panchayats. Roadblock like 15th Finance Commission, 14th Finance Commission was much liberal, but 15th Finance Commission is much constrained because it has added large number of restrictions. You have to spend this much percentage on this much percentage on this. First of all, let us ask ourselves, introspect ourselves, whether we believe on local governments or not. Whether we believe on the constitutional enablement of the empowerment of the Gram Panchayats or not, or the three-tier bodies or not. Let me personally confess that the SDGs can only be achieved by the local governments, that is the Panchayat, Block Panchayat and District Panchayat. There is no other way. And that's what we have realized, but we are trying to complicate the things. Dear friends, capacity building had been in islands. In fact, we have done the National Capability Building Framework 2022, for which I was the chairman of the committee. We worked for almost one year plus 2 months. We came up with a beautiful document. I don't know if you have come across that document, which is available on the Ministry of Panchayat Raj website. It has taken all these factors into account. And after extensive consultation at the field level with various stakeholders of various categories, and based on data, we have collected large amount of data, almost 4,000 to 5,000 respondents across the levels, sarpanches, ward members, block presidents, chairperson, Jilla Parishad chairperson, and so on and so forth. And then NGOs, we had interaction with NGOs also. We found that it is the complete ecosystem approach of capacity building is required for enabling the panchayats to work to its fullest potential, fullest capacity. If we follow 2022 NCBF document in 2 volumes, and we have further supplemented with standard operating procedures to implement each of the component, beautiful standard operating procedures for each of the component. If we do it wholeheartedly, completely, I think that will take care of most of our problems. So my point is, ecosystem approach is a must. All stakeholders and the total stakeholders, it is not just 3 million elected representatives. In fact, there is a mistake. When we say panchayat functioning, we always look at elected representatives. No, there are so many other stakeholders, and unless they join their hand, the claps cannot happen. The elected representatives can lead. They are the leaders, but they require so much of support. Dear friends, capacity building is not a one-time affair. Induction for 3 days and then revision for another 3 days is not going to be enough. It has to be continuous hand-holding, and as part of hand-holding, we have done experiment in NIRDPR from 2018 onwards, a cluster approach, engaging an young fellow, a passionate, dedicated young fellow, tutored and groomed and mentored by NIRDPR, has done wonders in the selected cluster of panchayats. We have a lot of CSR friends here. My dear friends, I want to say that confidently, if you invest on this cluster approach by investing in this human resource in the form of a young fellow, the rate of return is going to be fantastic. It is going to change. Next important point is, I'll take just 1 minute so that I'll not ask for more time. The essential element here is the local leadership, their self-esteem is at low ebb, very, very low, because of this so many controls, constraints, both from the center and from the state level. The capacity building, if we say, how do we ignite their minds, how can we improve their self-esteem, is like waking up the Hanuman. You have power, you have capacity, but you are a sleeping giant. How can you wake them up? I think whole capacity building approach should be to wake them up, and if they realize that yes, they have to do, yes, they can do, resources is not a constraint, people is not a constraint, nothing can be going to be a constraint. They can partner with, they can go where the resources are, they can reach out to Pradhan or similar like organizations who are here, and then they can find resources. Which panchayat leader doesn't want to see their family member, one of the family member in their panchayat, go hungry with empty stomach? No. No panchayat local leader would like to see that. Which panchayat local leader would like to see their child stunted in their panchayat? No. But only thing is we have to raise that sleeping giant. Are we doing that enough? No, it is not enough. We have to think on those lines. So the best thing we can do is reduce the obstacles which we are creating. Let us allow them to function, come up with their SDG, come up with their GPDP plans. Definitely all SDGs are going to be covered. Maybe in 1 year they may prioritize drinking water, next year they may prioritize sanitation, next year they may prioritize health. So they are going to cover even without we asking.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy.
Just one more, this thing. Then a lot of things have been talked about the data. Data aggregation is only meant for reporting to the government of India or state, and everyone agrees that the data is not available to the local panchayats. I think we have to reverse the complete process of collection of the data. Let the panchayat maintain the data. Whatever we require at the state level, we have to extract. Not to make the panchayat to feed the data required for Mission Antyodaya or XYZ. Why Mission Antyodaya is being continued now? Its relevance has gone. It is not covering all the indicators. Why still we are talking about Mission Antyodaya parameters? I don't understand. So I think we have to unlearn a lot of things, undo a lot of things, and e-Gram Swaraj is again truncated. They are making the projects very, very truncated. You may not know some Gram Panchayat, prosperous Gram Panchayat, advanced Gram Panchayats, they make 2 GPDPs. One for Gram Swaraj, another for their own functioning. Another is a full-fledged GPDP. So that is the stage which we are in. I think we have to do a lot of work to demystify these things and invent the local ways of identifying these interventions to make, enable the panchayats to function, and help them wherever they are required. And they are capable of doing it. And our job is going to be only help them, mentor them, and then help them to create that monitoring mechanisms. I think we are going to do wonderful things in achieving the SDGs. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy. I think you've touched upon many aspects of, I think, what we would like to discuss and debate as well. I know you spoke about the framework. Now, I think it's important to really understand from what is really happening from a reality standpoint on the ground. So one is the perspective of a panchayat, and I'd like to really hear from Anand as well as Subrat on just besides the issues that you've sort of outlined and the capabilities that have sort of been built already. It's not like the framework came into, it's been there for years. What has already been built, and how are we sort of amplifying that, and how are we sort of leveraging that? So Anand, if you can sort of start.
Thank you. So first of all, sir, I mean, it's amazing the number of nuggets that got delivered today. So it's, for me, I'm actually thinking I need to sit there and actually listen to all of these speakers and internalize all the things. So thank you very much for sharing all of this. So I was just wondering, what is it we can share from our unique perspective, because there is no way we can match the wisdom and the experience that's there in this room. So I want to share a few things. First of all, sir, what you said, I think, goes to the core of it. We use the term saying we shouldn't look at capacity building or implementation where we put the community as the last mile. I think we should stop doing that. We should flip it and say, why would they go hungry? It makes no sense. So what if we look at the world from their eyes and say, what they have the intent, they're like us, mothers, fathers, uncles, whatever, they're doing every day to better themselves, to help each other. What prevents them from accessing the things they need to further their own lives? I think we need to start flipping the narrative and looking at it from their perspective. I think that's one of the most important things we've learned in our brief experience in this. The second thing is, I think we tend to think about capacity building as a means to make people independent. Like once I build your capacity, you don't need anybody else. I think this is fundamentally flawed. We have to continue to ensure people understand that we are interdependent. So we should not just build capacity for you to play your role. We should allow you to also work with others who have other roles to play, so you can all work together. And I think capacity building is becoming unidimensional. And I think we need to change that and make communication, collaboration, data, all of these part of the interdependence that really is necessary for this sort of complex ecosystem. The third one I would say is, we keep saying, most project orientation that happens. It's like building cars, everybody is doing capacity building in order to go from point A to point B. Mera kaam ho gaya. But nobody is building roads. Nobody is building the rules to say, let us all drive on the left side. So we use nature as an inspiration, and we were saying, what rules does nature have? Nature has a very simple rule. If you live or you die, everything becomes part of the ground. You either excrete it or you become ground, which means leaves behind nutrients, which somebody else will use. My question to us is, we've been building capacity for 20 years. Where is that built capacity? What nutrients have we left behind? Can I find the trained practitioners that all of you have built instead of training somebody again? Can I find all the amazing content and knowledge that you've all accumulated, shared over the last 20 years? Where can I find it? And I think this is where digital really changes the idea of what is possible. And I think we need to start not looking at data as a problem or something like that, as a new set of possibilities where we can think about leaving behind digital nutrients. Because I think if we just think capacity building is about building superhumans who can jump over mountains, I think we will have 10 people working on this. We have to shift the idea of capacity building in our experience, again, learn from everybody here, is it's about shifting the narrative from taking superhuman efforts to achieve ordinary outcomes to enabling people to put ordinary efforts to achieve extraordinary outcomes. There, the enabling environment, simple things I'll ask you. If you want to know how to recharge water, where do you go find this information? It's there. We all know it's there. It has been there for 20 years. We're creating amazing knowledge. If I want to find facts of which NGO worked in this village last year, where do I find it? There are no facts. There is no knowledge left behind. If I know that you have trained 100 practitioners and you're amazing at training, where can I find them? I cannot. So what we're saying is, I think we need to think about capacity building and move away from this idea of creating individual, superhuman, independent people to really starting to realize we are creating an enabling environment where normal human beings can achieve extraordinary outcomes. So this is my few cents. But
Thank you, Anand. Mr. Subrata Das, would love to hear your perspective as well.
Thank you. So, good evening, friends, and many thanks to Pradhan for giving me this opportunity. So, one of the previous sessions has already discussed the role of funding partners. So, the theme of this session is different, and so my views are personal. They are not Ford Foundation's views. So, until June this year, I used to lead a think tank focusing on government budgets called Center for Budget and Governance Accountability. I did that work on government budgets for 20 years. So it's difficult to get it out of my system. And I've been learning from the rich discussions we have had since morning, and on capacity building, I think Dr. Reddy's views were very substantive. I would like to add a new perspective. based on what I did, you know, in my earlier life, and I think in the literature on localizing SDGs, a lot of emphasis has been given to policy coherence between different levels of governance. We do have policy coherence across sectors, but there are a few cross-cutting policy strategies which have come up in recent years, and they're getting a lot of emphasis at different levels, both at the national level as well as the state level. I think there is scope for further strengthening further coherence in those policy strategies which are cross-cutting. I would like to highlight three. How can we build stronger coherence there? By localizing, adding a localizing dimension in those policy strategies, creating mechanisms and spaces for participation, and having a bottom-up approach in those. The first one I would like to highlight is PFM reforms in public financial management, which is something that the Government of India and state governments are taking very seriously. So in the presentation by Anode Governance this morning, we heard that 3.75 lakh crores. That's the amount of money which is budgeted, which is allocated by Government of India in the current fiscal year for all those central sector schemes that can potentially be leveraged by Gram Panchayats. So there is a lot of financial resources which government budgets are investing, Government of India and state governments' budgets, and hence rightly so, the governments are very serious about improving value for money, enhancing value for money, and hence giving a lot of emphasis to PFM reforms. But the public financial management reforms, the way they have been conceptualized so far, are top-down, where the central ministries are trying to get greater visibility on utilization by states and districts. State government departments are also trying to get greater visibility on utilization by sub-state level entities. There I think we need to strengthen how can PFM reforms empower local level stakeholders, local governments and all. There we come across the issue of getting hyper-local data on public expenditure. Because I think, many people say that, well, money is only an input, but that's a very crucial input. And no matter how much we, kind of work on the other dimensions, we also have to focus more on that crucial dimension, that crucial input, which is the public resources, the government money which is flowing, which is of a huge magnitude. And I think there we need to emphasize, the need for availability of disaggregated data on public resources, which could actually change things significantly at the local level. At the district level, there are the Disha committees formed since 2016, which can play, they need to be empowered also to ask the line departments for more disaggregated data. And so that's one domain where we need to introduce a localizing dimension. The second is outcome budgeting. Now, some of the states like Orissa and Assam have converted their outcome budget statements into SDG budget statements. And that's a trend which is catching up. I anticipate more states in the coming years to start publishing an SDG budget statement. But is that statement localized? Or is it being prepared in a top-down approach? That's the question we should ask. Is there spaces for participation, any mechanism for the local governments, the collectives, CBOs and women's collectives and all those actors at the local level to inform that SDG budget statement? The third, I would say, are two important strategies, gender budgeting and child budgeting. Now, 20 states or 21 states have adopted gender budgeting, at least 12 states have adopted child budgeting, and they're serious about it. Government of India is very serious about it. State governments are also serious about it. But again, the conceptualization is something which is not in a bottom-up perspective. There also we need to bring in that element of bottom-up gender budgeting. So the way gender budgeting has been conceptualized and implemented since 2004-5 is more top-down. There we need to introduce a bottom-up dimension, a localizing dimension, same with child budgeting. And my last point on capacity building, it's not just capacity building of the local governments or stakeholders at the local level. There is a need for capacity building at the state level and the central level as well.
Thank you, Mr. Das. I'd actually, from some of the points that you spoke about top-down, I'd actually like to do bottom-up and bring in Ronak here, who's really been working on ground, and share your experiences actually about some of the questions that Mr. Das has asked.
Hello. So first, thank you, Pradhan and Axis Bank Foundation for having me here. मुझे लग रहा है I'll probably try to speak in Hindi क्योंकि कुछ हमारे गांव से भी लोग आए हैं यहाँ पे. तो देखिए जब हम कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग की जब आज बात कर रहे हैं, when we are talking of capacity building today, we also need to little bit understand the context where we are today. आज 2023 में हम हैं. Lot of work has happened in last many decades. It's not that we are going to start afresh. What we already have. One, we already have a lot of knowledge capital. What just Anand mentioned, that thousands of trainings, thousands of resources have been developed. So it's already there. हजारों innovations हो चुके हैं, हो रहे हैं, but हो भी चुके हैं. There's already those innovations are available with us. We have human resources, human capital. Unfortunately, we are not able to find them, connect with them, but they have been. आज अगर हम काउंट करने जाएंगे, यहाँ बैठे हुए लोग हैं, इन्होंने अगर जिनके ट्रेन किया है वो कितने लाखों का फिगर होगा. एंड सोशल कैपिटल है, इंस्टीट्यूशंस फॉर्म हो चुके हैं, SDGs हैं, तो हम सुबह से उस पर बात कर रहे हैं, PRIs हैं. And the last context which I want to bring is the technology era. This is what is new for us, and it can bring a multiplier effect like what Anand just mentioned. So I feel जब bottom up की बात कर रहे हैं और capacity building की बात कर रहे हैं, there are 3 points I think I would like to bring here in terms of communities, panchayats, CBOs perspective. At this today, when we all are learning, how do we learn today? Do we learn today more going in classrooms or training sessions, or do we learn in some other way? We learn from the information world available to us. We learn from them by doing a googling. मुझे word अभी थोड़े दिन पहले किसी ने सिखाया, ये नया word शायद ऑक्सफोर्ड में आ जाएगा, but googling करते हैं हम आज. Lot of information are already there. I think जो हमने सीखा है, जो लोग NGOs में जिन्होंने CBOs में काम किया है, when we work with one community और उनके यहाँ पे कुछ innovation होता है, कुछ अच्छा होता है, next community उसके बाद की टेक्निकल ट्रेनिंग से नहीं सीखती है, पर ज़्यादा सीखती है कि बाजू में काम हुआ है या उस कम्युनिटी में काम हुआ है. That's a capacity building. It is all not only about the skill knowledge, which we more emphasize in subject skills, silos of subject skills, but it's more about the कैसे किया आपने. It is not about क्या किया. How did you do that? How did you mobilize people? आपके यहाँ लोग कैसे जुड़ गए आपके साथ? पंचायत एक सरपंच ने अच्छा काम किया तो दूसरा सरपंच उससे कॉन्फिडेंस लेगा. How do we create this horizontal learning today with all those knowledges available, all those human capital available, using the technology era? I think that's one of the area which probably can accelerate the pace of localizing SDGs. हर बार नया इनोवेशन कोई नया एग्रीकल्चर प्रैक्टिस ढूंढना ज़रूरी नहीं है, कोई नया टेक्नोलॉजी ढूंढना ज़रूरी नहीं है, वो तो होता ही रहेगा और हो रहा है. somebody else is doing, but ये एक दूसरे के साथ जो सीखना है और उससे कॉन्फिडेंस लेना है, आई थिंक दैट इज़ वन इम्पॉर्टेंट एरिया विच वी इट इज़ माई पर्सपेक्टिव दैट कम्युनिटीज़ में आज आप उससे बहुत ज़्यादा फास्ट काम कर पाएंगे. The second part, like some sir mentioned, that it is a continuous process, and we are into an era where we're looking at climate change, we are looking at man-made disasters, conflicts. काफ़ी अभी UN का रिपोर्ट का आप जिक्र कर रहे थे, कोई पैनलिस्ट भी आगे भी जा रहे हैं लेकिन हम पीछे भी चले जा रहे हैं. So this uncertainty needs dynamic decision making capacity for panchayats, for local communities. They can't be constant, so it cannot be one-time training, one-time capacity building exercise. For that informed decision making, उनको अगर सतत नए decisions लेने पड़ने वाले हैं, नए challenges को handle करना है. So again the question is that how do they access that dynamic information flow, उन तक कैसे पहुँचता रहेगा? Are they always going to be dependent on NGOs or government से कहीं flow आएगा, या there will be other mechanisms which can be created as an ecosystem by us, by all of the people sitting here, or all the people we are all engaged with. So that I think taking informed decision is also a new capacity building which is needed by PRIs and CBOs. And the last part is, if we are expecting that panchayat now leads or CBOs and they are ready, they are capable to do that, तो फिर हम सब जो लोग हैं, हमारी कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग में क्या बदलाव आना चाहिए? बिकॉज वी हैव बीन गिविंग ट्रेनिंग, मैं तो पानी पे जाके ट्रेनिंग दे रहा हूँ, मैं तो एजुकेशन पे जाके ट्रेनिंग दे रहा हूँ. Do we change our role of telling solutions, telling कि ये प्रॉब्लम है तो ये समाधान करिए, या will become probably we need to change our role also as more as a facilitator of this process of informed decision making, horizontal learning, and that capacity building of the people working with them or supporting them, that ecosystem, maybe वो बदलाव साथ में आना पड़ेगा. Because more and more we are seeing capacity building में it has become काफ़ी silos में हम धीरे धीरे पहुँच चुके हैं. एक time like community based capacity building is now it's difficult to find. It is more about little thematic capacity building. So मॉर्निंग में किसी ने मैम ने जिक्र किया था, शरण मैम ने, जो वो बांग्लादेश गए और वहाँ पे वो कैसे वो उनके साथ घर तक एंगेज हो रहे थे. सो देन दिस फैसिलिटेशन प्रोसेस इज़ दैट हाउ डू वी क्रिएट दोज, जो कैडर हमने ह्यूमन कैपिटल आज तक बनाया है उसमें वो कैपेसिटी में कैसे और बड़ा क्या बदलाव किया जाए. सो आई थिंक लॉट ऑफ चेंजेस विल बी नीडेड इन CSOs, NGOs, गवर्नमेंट ऑफिशियल्स who are engaging with CSOs and panchayats to help them take the lead and take the bottom-up approach.
Yeah, no, thank you, Ronak. I actually want to, a lot of the statements that you, Anand, and Ashraf have made, I wanted to link it back to the framework that you spoke about, Dr. Reddy and Dr. Bhanja, and how are a lot of these things actually built into that, if they are. And just would you like to share a little bit more with that with us?
It will be not fair on part of me if I'm not sharing my experiences with regard to capacity building and training with respect to localization of SDGs. As it has already been mentioned, the expert committee submitted the report in September 2021 with respect to localization of SDGs in PRIs. So after that, the task of imparting training or the task of creating a pool of state level master trainer was given to NIRD-PI. So we started the training from June 2022. In different batches, state level trainers, they came and they attended the training program. As per the instruction of MOPR, we had to create a pool of 1800 state level master trainers, so that they can cover all the states, all the districts, and they can start conducting training program at the district level. So that was the target, and last year we created more than 1800 SLMT, state level master trainers. But thing is that when we imparted training to them, we prepared very good training module. As you know, to go for this capacity building, you have to have certain certain components or certain parameters. You have to have proper training module. You have to have proper trainer. You have to have ecosystem. What Reddy sir has already highlighted. Then only we can go for imparting training or creating pool of trainers. That we did, and for all these 9 themes, we prepared the training modules. We shared with MOPR, and MOPR uploaded those training modules on TMP, Training Management Portal, so that the trainers across the country, they can make use of those training modules. Up to this, it is fine. But when when the trainers they attended the training program, I observed so many things. As you know, for many people, capacity building and training is not the priority area. It is not the priority for many. It may be government, it may be people. So for many, it is not the priority. As a result of which, the people who were selected by the states to attend training program or to become state level master trainers, their capability was in question. Because some states, they nominated people who are at the Gram Panchayat level, like Gram Rozgar Sahayak. Those people came and they attended the training program. So these kind of people, they are not for imparting training at the Gram Panchayat level. Actually, the state level master trainers were created to conduct district level training programs, to create a pool of district level master trainers. So as a result of which, the mandate of ministry could not be accomplished. This is number 1. Number 2, we planned that we can take it forward in cascade mode of training. Because as you know, there are around 60 lakh people, 32 lakh elected representatives, around 30 lakh functionaries, covering 2.5 lakh Gram Panchayats. So they have to be trained on this localization of sustainable development goals. So it is very difficult for NIDPR to cover these 60 lakh people. So then what is the approach? Approach is NIDPR has to create the state level master trainers. The state level master trainers, they have to go back to the district level. There they have to create the district level master trainers. District level master trainers, they have to go back to block level. There they have to create the block level resource persons, and block level resource person will go to the Gram Panchayat level to conduct the field-based training. But what we observed after imparting training or after creating the pool of 1800 state level master trainers, we realized that these trainers, they are not conducting training program at the district level. Why? Because most of the SIDs, they have their own resource persons. Again, why? They are creating their own resource persons. There are so many issues. If they are nominating the people who are outside SIRDs, State Institute of Rural Development, then there will be a question of reimbursement of their travel expenses. As a result of which, they are not nominating the people outside of SID, and they are nominating the faculty members. The people who came outside of NIDPR, they could not take it forward. They could not conduct the training program at the district level. As a result of which, the link was disconnected. The people who are not trained by NIDPR, they conducted training at the district level, block level, and the Gram Panchayat level. As a result of which, there is a huge transmission lost. Whatever was communicated by NIDPR, it was not taken forward to the Gram Panchayat level. Another important thing, I think it has already been highlighted, the perspective issue or the issue of mindset. That mindset has to be changed. Okay, we always believe that the panchayats, they cannot do anything. They don't have capability to implement the schemes and programs. Basically, if you see the localization of sustainable development goal agenda, it revolves around 2-3 things. One is your people's participation. Second is your convergence. Then third is making the panchayats institutionally strong. If there is any you can say gap anywhere, it cannot be taken forward. So that is lost because we don't have that much confidence. We don't have trust on this panchayat. As a result of which, I think we are unable to build their capacities. We are unable to make them institutionally strong. And the last point I would like to highlight here, very recently I attended the Keralium, which took place in Kerala, that continued from 1st to 7th November. There is a proposition. Now it is high time to think beyond welfare states. State has to be compassionate, state has to be caring, so that the connect can be established, that elected representatives and people, they are not connected with each other. They have contact, but this connect is missing. The emotional link, emotional attachment is lost. So that kind of an attitude should be developed, so that many things can be taken care of by the panchayat. Thanks.
Yes, please.
The transmission loss is not the new thing. Not only happened in the SDGs training programs which have been ably done by NIRDPR. It was there, and then we were struggling to find out how to overcome them. But I think problem is it is all supply driven. The question is, can we make it demand driven? When can we expect the local leadership to come forward to SIRDs, ETCs, to NGOs like Pradhan and ask for, we want to do this thing, we don't know, these are the things, can you help us? So then structure the program, and I think Mr. Ronak rightly mentioned the learning, experiential learning, seeing from the neighbor, seeing from the neighboring panchayat. That's why ministry has started a program to take the elected representatives to successful gram panchayats, which had been doing well, which can be further improved by further tightening the whole thing. So experiential learning is going to be very, very important. So how can you make the demand driven? Again, we'll come back to the point of how can we motivate them, how can we ignite the minds of this local leadership, number one. Number two, how can we cover the whole ecosystem? It's not only elected representatives. The departmental functionaries, and as I think Mr. Subrata rightly mentioned, the hurdles at the state government level itself, hurdles at the Government of India, Ministry of Panchayat Raj itself, they require capacitating, they require, may not be capacitating, but reorienting them, sensitizing them. We may call whatever the name it is. So, I think a time has come for us to create pressure groups from down below, for which we all have to work. Pressure groups in the form of maybe Sarpanch associations. There are, in some states, there are some, but not very effective. Block level associations, and then they started demanding. Now, they are not in a position to say that what 16th Finance Commission should be. Maybe people like us from Niti Aayog who are the members, and then decide that some funds to be given to block also, some funds to be given to the district also. When we are talking about decentralization, why to again truncate and give part of that funds to this thing? Maybe next to 16th Finance Commission will say that, okay, state also may retain some portion of the Finance Commission grants. Now, I think creating those pressure groups would require mobilization, whether we call capacity building or mobilization. And I think all of us have a role to play in that. Let us create those pressure groups. I keep hearing from one of my close friends, the IT sector has boomed, not because of government support, but because of an organization like NASCOM, which created pressure and then went to the government and lobbied and so on and so forth. Can we create such pressure groups from the local governments, from the elected representatives, from the stakeholders of the local governments, and which can transform the whole thing? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy. Any last words? We've sort of run out of time, so I would like to actually ask a few questions from the audience, if they had. Just quick last words from Ronak, Anand, and...
Yeah, I don't want to be the one giving the last words, but I just want one thing that I felt is really interesting is this idea of, I don't think we can isolate kahan pe capacity building karna hai. I think everybody has to build capacity. But I think one thing we have to be careful. In trying to empower somebody, we cannot disempower somebody else. Like this idea, sometimes we go too far. You know, we say, you have to build capacity and let them decide. But the Government of India has a role to play, the state has a role to play, they're held accountable to something. So we cannot do empowerment at the cost of disempowerment of somebody else. I think we have to think about non-zero sum games. This is not a zero sum game. That's all I wanted to add.
Ronak? Yeah.
My question to Dr. Reddy, sir, though I was a part of the NCBA committee. Sir, in the whole framework of capacity building, we rightly mentioned about this pressure group, like in the format of NASCAM and also PADA. So, creating even the pressure group, should the Government of India, Ministry of Panchayat Raj or RGSA or different flagship program in their CV components, should not they make provision for citizen-centric training, which usually we saw whenever we go for stakeholders analysis in capacity building frameworks, citizen training is missing. So, what is your submission, observation in this regard?
Yeah, everything expecting through the government channels is not going to fructify. I think for such effort, the informal channels, the channels of, let us say, CBOs, NGOs, like-minded people, I think can only create such groups or pressure groups, whatever we call associations or similar agents of demanding for certain things. Government has its own limitations, and whatever they understand, they are trying to do best. That's what they think they are doing best. But I think hearing the mind of the local people is the best way forward. That's what happened in Kerala. The participatory planning, deciding and everything. All other players have supported, facilitated, as Mr. Ronak rightly said, facilitator role. I think that should be the approach. Huge engagement is required. 260,000 panchayats. I was calculating, is not a big amount of money. Suppose one passionate youngster is positioned with the right grooming, it may cost about 17,000 crores over a period of, let us say, 3 years. If that can be done, and he or she can work along with the local leadership at panchayat level, or cluster of panchayats, then we can see the changes. They themselves will come forward that we want to do this, we want to do this, we want to do this, and find out. We keep talking about no cost, low cost development initiatives. But where is the offtake for them? They are only struggling to fill the data and then prepare the projects to upload in the e-Gram Swaraj and so on and so forth. Let us free them and then facilitate them.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being here today and imparting and sharing your thoughts with us on capability building. And I think we're...
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर आप सभी लोगों को। और मैं निवेदन करूंगा प्रधान से अभिजीत जी को कि वो कृपया कर मंच पर अपना स्थान लें और आप सभी लोगों को स्मृति चिन्ह देंगे। अभिजीत जी, आपके आने से पहले मैं एक व्यक्तिगत साझा करना चाहता हूं कुछ। रेड्डी सर, आपने हम सभी को बड़ा प्रेरित किया ये बात बोल करके कि ये बड़ा महत्वपूर्ण है कि जो आवाज़ है वो ज़मीन से आवाज़ आनी चाहिए। तो आज जब हम इस सत्र को समाप्त कर रहे हैं, मैं थोड़ा सा व्यक्तिगत आपको अपने बारे में बताना चाहता हूँ कि मैं जिस राज्य से आता हूँ उस राज्य का जन्म ही एक आंदोलन के आधार पे हुआ है। मैं बात कर रहा हूँ देवभूमि उत्तराखंड की। आज संजोग से हमारे राज्य का जन्मदिन भी है, 23वां जन्मदिन है। तो आप लोग इस खुशी में मेरे साथ शरीक हो रहे हैं, उसके लिए मैं आप लोगों को धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं। और निश्चित तौर पर जो हमारा राज्य है, वैसे क्योंकि ये मंच हमारे राज्य के बारे में नहीं है, हम तो प्रधान के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, लेकिन आपने प्रेरित किया और आपने बिल्कुल सही कहा कि कहीं ना कहीं हम लोगों को अपनी आवाज़ को सशक्त करना पड़ेगा, बुलंद करना पड़ेगा, तभी जाकर के जो जिन बड़े बदलावों की ओर आप इशारा कर रहे हैं, आप चाहते हैं कि आगे बढ़े। तो आपने ये बात आखिरी सत्र में बोली और यही बात जो है पहले सत्र में जो हमारे सेवानिवृत्त अभी हाल ही में आदरणीय सचिव साहब हुए हैं, उन्होंने भी यही बात बोली थी कि ये बड़ा महत्वपूर्ण है कि नीचे से आवाज़ आनी चाहिए। तो मैं आप सभी को इस सत्र की समाप्ति पे आप लोगों को धन्यवाद कहने से पहले मैं आप लोगों को धन्यवाद कहना चाहता हूं, क्योंकि आज के युग में बोलना ज़्यादा आसान है लेकिन सुनना, तो आप लोग सवेरे से यहाँ पर बैठ करके सुन रहे हैं। मैं ये चाहूँगा कि हम सब लोग तालियां आप लोगों के लिए बजाएं पहले। तो ये आप सभी लोगों को जिसे हम कहते हैं साधुवाद, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद कि आप लोग जो हैं इतनी विनम्रता के साथ में आपने इतने सारे विचारों को आज आत्मसात किया है। हम लोगों के आज, जैसा आप जानते हैं, टोटल 7 सत्र हुए हैं। तो 5 तो हमारे सेशंस हुए, उसके अलावा हमारा एक उद्घाटन का सत्र था और एक नॉलेज सत्र, तो 7 जो हमारे सत्र हुए। प्रधान की तरफ से मैं धन्यवाद भी करना चाहूँगा, प्रेषित करना चाहूँगा जो हमारे 3 प्रमुख पार्टनर्स हैं, एक्सिस बैंक फाउंडेशन, उसके अलावा नीति आयोग एवं CII, और हमारे समस्त प्रदान के युवा साथी जो पिछले 2, 3, 4 महीनों से लगे हुए हैं इस कार्यक्रम को एक मूर्त रूप देने में। मेरा आपसे निवेदन रहेगा कि आप लोग इनके लिए भी तालियां बजाएं, क्योंकि इन लोगों ने वाकई में बड़ी मेहनत करी। तो ये आज का दिवस है। और जहाँ तक कल की बात है, कल हमारा, आज हमने शुरू किया है, हमें समाप्त भी कल करना है। तो कल का जो हमारा कार्यक्रम है उसका स्वरूप ये है कि हम लोग कल 10 बजे, जैसा हमने आज शुरू किया, हम समय पर कल शुरुआत करेंगे 10 बजे, और 1:30 यानी 1:30 बजे के लगभग हम एक भोजन पान के साथ में इसको समाप्त करेंगे समागम 2023 को। मैं आपसे यही निवेदन करूंगा कि कल भी आप लोग जो हैं समय पर उपस्थित हों। कल मोटे मोटे हमारे 2 सत्रों का आयोजन होना है। एक हम जो है 6वां जो हमारा पैनल डिस्कशन होगा, जहाँ पर हम नीति के बारे में, पॉलिसी लैंडस्केप के बारे में बात करेंगे, और उसके बाद में इन सभी बातों का समन्वय करते हुए, उन्हीं का समागम करते हुए जो हमारा वे फॉरवर्ड होगा कि अगला कदम क्या होना चाहिए, उसके ऊपर चर्चा होगी। तो इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ में मैं अभिजीत को आमंत्रित करना चाहूँगा कि कृपया करके हमारे सभी सम्मानित अतिथिगणों का जो है स्मृति चिन्ह दे करके उनको धन्यवाद प्रेषित करें। अभिजीत। आप भी आओ ना शीना, आपका भी है। दोस्तों, एक और जानकारी मिली है, आप लोगों को एक और हैप्पी बर्थडे बोलना है, लेकिन हैप्पी बर्थडे ये उत्तराखंड के लिए नहीं है। हमारे 2 यहाँ पर साथी सवेरे से बैठ करके चित्रकारी कर रहे हैं, तो मैं चाहूँगा, निवेदन करूँगा, शिखा जी आप कृपया कर खड़ी हो जाएं। हम आपको एम्बैरेस नहीं करना चाहते। आज शिखा जी का जन्मदिन है, जन्मदिवस है, तो हम सब लोग मिलकर के जो है आपका जन्मदिन यहाँ पर सेलिब्रेट कर रहे हैं। अच्छा, आप लोगों के लिए, सभी के लिए चाय का प्रबंध जो है बाहर दाहिने तरफ। जो